Joey Arnold, talk about your life in Vietnam. I really want to give a quick summary or outline of my life in Vietnam, and I think about this sometimes, and I try to summarize it, and it's difficult. So difficult. Mamma mia. Let me take a deep breath and try to soak it all in. Went to Vietnam in 2012. I came back to America in 2017. I really wanted to travel since I was a little boy. I thought about it many times. I wanted to travel the world and help people. Since I was 8, I was thinking about it. I wanted to do things. And as I got older, I would sometimes think about it more and more. And there was a girl that met me online, and she encouraged me to come. Joy Senses. I think I'm not saying her name correctly. She was telling me about it, and she encouraged me to come. And I was thinking about it for a year or two, and eventually I went to Vietnam to teach English at a school in Bắc Ninh. And they said they didn't want me after about 4 or 5 days. They said you're fired or not hired. They said technically that they were not going to officially hire me. I was helping out a little bit or working, helping the girl with her classes. I mean the woman. And she was my friend. And it was good to be there, to go to Vietnam. They said no. They said they didn't want me. It was difficult, and it was my first time doing something like that, and so I have a lot of mixed feelings about it. I want to give a quick summary of my entire trip, my life in Vietnam. It would take a while to go through the details. I find it important to talk about. I'm pretty passionate about it. I'm emotional about it sometimes. Maybe too emotional sometimes. I've been a jerk, even if I've meant well in life, and that includes situations I was in Vietnam, and it would take a while to talk about, to unpack. I want to talk about a lot of things, and I wanted to start it off with the first thing that happened was pretty major, pretty big, pretty devastating. I probably should have known better in some ways. I probably should have done things differently, perhaps, but nonetheless, I wanted to trust them, and they were saying, "Come to Vietnam, and we'll get you a job, man. We'll get you a job or something." I'm paraphrasing since they didn't know a lot about English. They didn't know English that well, but they were like, "Come on over." I came on over, and then they were like, "No, thank you." And it was hard to deal with, but I got some help, and I didn't have a lot of money. But the owner of a restaurant, the Papa Foods restaurant, which was nearby, was just down the road, he said that I could stay there for a while. So I was staying at the restaurant. I was helping out there, and then I was looking, was trying to find work somewhere, everywhere, anywhere I could, and I spent all my time doing that, either working or running around trying to find other jobs. in Vietnam. I didn't want to just like go back to America. Didn't want to quit. I mean, it was only 4 days after arriving in Vietnam, and I was already out of work. And I got help from the restaurant and other people, and it was really good. And I was learning a lot about Vietnamese and this just meeting people, and it was a lot to take in all at once. And part of me felt like I was prepared, and another part of me thought that I was totally lost in a world of chaos, and my world was flipped upside down like Will Smith in a way in the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. I felt like I was in a big mess, and I was not happy with the way that people would treat me sometimes. That doesn't mean that I was an angel, depending on the time or the situation. I've always had excuses, and I don't think I'm the worst kind of person in the world, but I always think that there's always room for improvement. So let me try to speed up my storytelling process, because I'm getting sucked into the first few months of my life in Vietnam, which is only a small part of the story, and it's a big part of the story. And I don't know if this is the best way to tell my story of my life in Vietnam, because there's a lot of things to talk about. So to be quick, I was in the north of Vietnam the first 2 months. I started out in Bac Ninh. That's a city near the capital of Vietnam. The capital of Vietnam is Hanoi, and I was there. I arrived there around Thanksgiving of 2012, and I was there, and then I started going to Hanoi looking for work. That was in January of 2013, and I was hanging out with some of my new friends I met online, and then I went and I met them in person, and we were going around Hanoi for a week or two looking for work, and meeting up with people. Then we went to another place named Wabin for the Tet holiday, and then Thanh Hoa was that's another city, and then I ended up going to Saigon a day before my birthday, and that was on the 10th. It was on a Sunday. Flew in an airplane from Hanoi to Saigon, and then went to a girl's hometown for the Tet holiday. And so I was celebrating the Tet holiday again, and this time in the south of Vietnam. And I was meeting people and learning a lot of things, and then I got back, and then I was meeting with a bunch of people, meeting people in Saigon looking for work, and they were helping me find work, and then people were helping me get to work, and I got 2 jobs early on, and they helped me a lot, and it was really good. So I had 2 teaching jobs starting around March of 2013, and things were getting better around that time. And then I had my own. I was able to get my get a kind of like a hotel, but it was a hostel, and I eventually got my own apartment in. I think it was in May, early in May, and I had my own apartment, my first apartment in Vietnam was in May of 2013, and so I was really new to Saigon. I arrived in Saigon on the 10th of February of 2013, and started getting a bunch of jobs, and sometimes the jobs would end, and then I would go on to having another job, and I would generally have a couple different jobs at the same time, teaching English at a couple different places at the same time, and that would continue on into 2017, and that's when I went back to America. But along the way, I just ran into a bunch of different things, good things, bad things, but um, it was a big adventure. I don't know if I'm doing the best presentation right now, talking kind of monotone, and I could probably talk forever about this. There's a lot of different stories, and the one story that I talk about sometimes is what happened at the pagoda, and I was talking about that earlier, and that started happening in 2013, that same year, my first full year in Vietnam, and my first year in Saigon, that's Ho Chi Minh City, and I started going to the pagoda in August of 2013, and it was a lot of fun, and I met a lot of people, and for the Tet holiday in 2014, I think I went to Long An. That's according to some of these videos I was looking at recently, and I might have gone somewhere. No, wait a minute. I think I went. Oh man, I forget sometimes. Probably went to Long An in December of 2013, and then I went to Dom Nai, or one of those other places for the Tet holiday in 2014, and I was hanging out with one of the students, one of my students of mine that I had at the pagoda, and he continued to be a good ally of mine for years to come, and met a group, a really good group early in 2013 in April, and they became good friends that I would work with. We had an English club, the fellowship youth group. They were a good bunch of people to work with. During my time in Vietnam, I would work with them, and they were probably my favorite group to work with. And I was just going from one place to another place, or working different places at the same time. It'd be, sometimes I was working at schools or centers or houses or cafes, McDonald's, parks. It was a bunch of different things happening at different times, or sometimes at the same time. And as time went on, I was becoming more of a freelancer, and started getting better at it. And I ran into a bunch of drama, ran into a bunch of problems. Like, I would talk about Kathy stole my bike. That was a big story. I made it a big story. But sometimes I was a jerk, and not to say that I didn't have my reason. Not to say that people were not a jerk to me. But in life, you have to decide how you want to live life, and you gotta really pick your battles. And there's a lot of life lessons like that I was learning and going through, and I was really focused on them and the problems they did, or not. Like, it doesn't mean that I'm always right, but I was really passionate about trying to expose people for the wrong they did. I may be right sometimes about that, but that doesn't mean that I'm always right on how I went about it. Not to say that I was always wrong either. I think I'm right, or I try to be right, but I am aware of being a jackass, being a jerk, or a variety of things. Choose your words wisely here, but whatever I am, it may be a combination of things, and I try to work on that. I try to work on my character, unlike Rey from Star Wars. I try to work on some things, and that doesn't mean that I'm going to really work on everything, because I'm still going to do some things maybe, and you may not like it or whatever. But I do try to work on things, or so I say, and so I was doing all these things that I could talk a lot about, the different things that I did during my life in Vietnam. Those 5 years felt like another lifetime, and a lot of things happened. A lot of good and bad stuff happened. I talked about some of the stories. Some of the stories that I could talk about in Vietnam, some of the highlights would include Kathy, the pagoda, the Circle K, the Remy Cafe, the Master Class, Master Cup. I think it's called. Oh yeah, Master Cup. Okay, I always want to say Master Class, but I mean the Master Cup. Did I say cup? Cup. Sorry. The Master Cup Cafe. They had an English class, English club there. I could talk about that and what happened there. There were a few other places, a few other things. The time when I felt like McDonald's stole my phone. I could talk about that. I could talk about just a bunch of different things, and those are the biggest ones that come to my mind. And I kind of like to talk about some of those things. And I may be a jerk because I want to talk about those things. Barbie, Anna Barbie. I could talk about her family, and things relating to that on and off during my time in Vietnam. And there were just a bunch of different people and things going on. And I would say the biggest thing that happened was the last thing that happened. I mean, the last major thing that happened was pretty devastating. And that was when I was unable to extend my visa. And I tried really hard. And this started happening at the end of 2015. And this happened during a really hard time in my life. I think it was devastating that I had my apartment, this other apartment that I had, because I had a couple different apartments and I had different roommates sometimes, but the last one that I had was my favorite, and I got it right after that incident at Circle K. 2 days after that, I got a new apartment in District 1 at Old Ink. That's the name of a tattoo shop. And I was renting a room from their shop, which was also their house. They had a shop at their house, and a lot of people do that. They work at home, and they turn their house into a store. They turn their house into a shop, or whatever it is, whatever the kind of work that they do. They just turn it into that, whatever it is. And I was living at their house, and I was renting the room, and I was doing that from October of 2014 to October of 2015. And during that year, one of my favorite students was the Lego Man. That was his nickname. Lego Man, Ego my Lego, Lego my Ego. I enjoyed that. We met at McDonald's most of the time, and that was fun because we would eat McDonald's food and talk, and he would pay me just for me to talk to him, and that's kind of what YouTubers do. So in a way, I was like a YouTuber, except in Vietnam and without YouTube. That's what YouTubers do with the super chats. People sending money to them for talking. That's what they do, and it's kind of cool. And I enjoyed having that apartment in District 1 at Old Ink, and it was a lot of fun. And then they said that they were moving, and so I had to find another apartment or something. And so I was going to do that, and so then I went back to renting a room at the hostel, the same hostel I was at in 2013, and I like that hostel. I would go there sometimes. A hostel is like a hotel. You have a couple different people in one room, and you have we had 3 bunk beds in one room. That means 6 people sharing a room, and I would do that. And so I went there, and then I was trying to extend my visa while looking for another place to live. And I took my passport to the one place where the lady would take it and extend it like she did before 3 other times. And there were other people. I would go to a couple of other stores or agencies, travel agencies, and I was going to the one place, and it was only like a block or 2 from my house. There's a lot of businesses and stores in District 1, and it was pretty convenient. I could just like walk around, but I also had a bike. I had a couple different bikes, but I was able to just walk down the road and hand her the passport, and then 2 weeks later she tells me I can't do it. I can't extend your visa, or whatever the case might be. There might be something wrong. She was trying to explain it, and maybe she did a bad job at trying to explain it, or I don't know if there was any malice, any Michael malice, any problems, anything. Like, I don't know if she was purposely misleading me, or if she didn't know any better, or she was just doing her job, or what have you. I've gone back and forth trying to figure it out, and I used to talk to people about it, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to go see somebody else. And so I went to somebody else to try to extend my visa, and then I have to wait 2 weeks, and then they find out they can't do it either. And so there was some kind of problem. I didn't know what the problem might have been at the time. Looking back, I can tell you a few things about it, but going through it, it was disturbing, and I was thinking to myself, what if I'm in a lot of trouble? What if I'm on some kind of blacklist or what have you? And I would talk to people, a bunch of different people over the years, and I didn't know what to think, what to do. I was a little discouraged. I was a little heartbroken in a lot of ways. I didn't know if I was being targeted, or if I did something wrong, or what was going on, but I was not able to extend my visa, and I was homeless, and I was homeless a few times while in Vietnam, but only for short periods of time. Like the last major time, or the only major other major time, was in August and September of 2014. That ended with the thing that happened at Circle K with the cops coming and roughing me up, and that happened. I was homeless at that time for a month or two. It was in August and September of 2014. I was homeless. Then I got that apartment, and then I didn't have an apartment, and then my visa was expiring, and that was happening in December of 2015. My visa was expiring, and I was trying to extend it, and then I couldn't rent an apartment without an extended visa, without a visa, with an expired visa. You can't really do it legally, I guess, but or so they say. So I didn't know what to do exactly, so I would have to just go to a cafe, order something, and stay overnight. I would do that, and I would try out different cafes that were 24/7, and I would usually go to And Coffee. That was the name of the cafe, and I was going there a lot for months and months, and that was pretty good. Then I think we kind of got in a fight, and so I decided not to go there anymore, or they didn't really want me to go there anymore after a few months or year. I forget exactly how long, but it was for a period of time. And but this was after I was trying to extend my visa, and while I was really focused on trying to extend my visa, I got help from Anna Barbie. That's her nickname. You might have seen her in some of these videos. There's some videos of me doing karaoke with her, and you see her mother in the background, and that might have been around my birthday or around the Tet holiday, which is around my birthday, and they were trying to help me out, and I was trying to extend my visa. This is a big thing that happened in my life in Vietnam. The process of trying to fix the visa, fix the passport was a big thing. It probably could have been solved in a pretty quick fashion. The remedy might have been simply go to Cambodia and make a new visa and come back. That may have been the easiest solution, and I thought about doing it, but I didn't want to do it because I wanted to get answers, and that was the sort of mindset that I would have, right or wrong, and it was probably mostly wrong, but that's what I was thinking, and I wanted them to tell me exactly what happened, and I wanted to figure it out before I did anything, especially in case I was in a tougher spot than I thought. Which perhaps I wasn't, but at the time I wasn't sure. But I thought maybe if I leave the country, I would never ever be able to come back, and I was not ready to do that because I still had some students that were relying on me, and I didn't want to abandon them. And so I'm like, I'm not gonna like accidentally leave and then not be allowed back. I mean, I guess I could like start all over in Cambodia and live my life there, but if I was really blacklisted and unable to come back, then what do I do? And am I going to be able to relocate and live my life in other countries, or what have you? Will I need to take all my stuff, or can I trust other people to send it to me if they don't let me back into the country? And so I decided I'm not going to risk that yet. So I decided I'm going to try to get all the answers I could. I'm going to try to exhaust everything I could. Sometimes I would like try to go to the embassy or go to different travel agencies or go to the police department or the immigration department for the country in Saigon. I would go to these different places and talk to people. And Anna's mom, I was talking about Anna, and she was trying to help me. Her mom was trying to help me a lot, and she would drive me around. She took me to like a lawyer, and they were talking about trying to fix the problem, and they were unable to extend the visa, but they, or maybe they were able to, but then they didn't have the money. I had the money, but then I gave it to Anna's family, even though they were helping me with it. It's like I told them they could do whatever they want with the money. And I did that because they were kind of teasing me. Anna and her older sister were sometimes joking around. Maybe they were serious about it, but was mostly joking around about me being selfish, or being stingy with my money. And I was like, oh no, I'm not. I'll prove it to you. I'll give you all my money. And that's what I did. I gave them all my money, and they were like, no. And I'm like, yeah, here it is. And I gave them all my money, and I was thinking that they would be responsible with my money, but in a way it was no longer my money because I gave it to them, and I wanted to give it to them, and I wanted to like prove a point. And they ended up spending the money by we would go out and eat sometimes at restaurants and stuff, and we would just do that again and again, day after day, until all the money was gone. It was like $1,000 or $2,000, and then I think they said all the money was gone eventually, and they were kind of thinking that I wanted them to spend the money, and that might be my problem. I don't know what their exact perspective was on the matter, but I was not happy with it at the time because I felt like they did me wrong, even though they were my friends. I enjoyed hanging out with them, karaoke, and going to Dalat, which is another city at the Dalat city. It's like 10 hours north of Saigon, and it's a beautiful place, and I've been there a few times. And we went there during the Tet holiday in 2016, and it was good. And we had a bunch of adventures off and on, and they were trying to help me, and I felt like maybe they couldn't help me, but I wanted them to see that they couldn't help me, so I just let them try to help me. But that cost me some of my other English classes because I would stay at their house while they were trying to fix my visa problem. And this went on for like 3 months or so. It started early around January of 2016, and it went on to like something like April. And during that time, I had other classes, but I ended up not going to it. and Anna's family, they were telling me that I had to stay in their house a lot, and kind of hide out because they didn't want the cops to know, because I wasn't really allowed to be there legally, without a visa, since my visa was expired, and they were trying to hide me, kind of thing, and so they felt like it would not be safe to run around a lot, and so I ended up not showing up to teach English for my favorite, one of my favorite classes and group of students that I had at that time, and I ended up not even telling them what happened until like months later. But I ended up betraying them because I I felt like I was in a situation where I didn't know who to trust, or who to be loyal to. And I guess I could have been honest to everyone, and I could have let both sides know what I was thinking, and everything that I wanted. But I didn't want to say a lot at that time to the other group, which was the FYZ group, and I enjoyed working with them during my time in Vietnam. They were the one thing that I would always go back to. I started working with them in 2013, and I continued working with them, off and on into early into 2016, and then it probably stopped after that. But still, they were a big part of my life in Vietnam. But I probably betrayed them to a large degree, even though I wasn't really trying to, and I felt like I was in this weird situation where I didn't know exactly what to do, and I probably made some bad decisions in regards to all of that, and especially during that time period, it was critical to make the best decisions possible, and I was making a big deal about it, and I probably made it too big a bit too big of a deal, and I meant well, but I was fighting a battle that was probably not worth fighting. Perhaps it's easier to say that now looking back, but I was really trying to figure things out. Like, I wanted to know what was going on. I wanted to know, and I wanted to know it as soon as possible. And I was willing to wait for the answers that I wanted, because I was just curious about how this all went down. I wanted my visa problem to be fixed, but I didn't want to just have it fixed. I wanted it explained. I wanted to understand how the problem started in the first place, and whose fault it might have been, kind of thing. Because it wasn't supposed to be like that, because I was pretty sure that it would be possible for me to extend my visa. And I guess the problem was, it all started with me making a new visa back earlier in 2015. I went to Cambodia for a second time to make a visa, and I went with the travel agency, and I go on a bus, and it takes about a day to get there and to go back. And so I go over the border, and I go to a travel agency. I buy a new visa, and then I go back into Vietnam. And this is called it's called a visa run, and a lot of tourists do this kind of thing, and they kind of do this more often than they do the extension. And travel agencies will say this because it costs more money generally to do a visa run, whether it's by bus or plane. People do that, and a lot of people would tell me that's what you do. You leave the country and you come back with a new visa. And people would normally say that most of the time, but I would extend my visa because you can do that for a period of time. You can extend a visa a few times, or they may not tell you how many times you're allowed to do it. And I don't know if there's an official book somewhere that says what the limit is, but I would make a visa, extend it 2 or 3 or as many as like 5 times, something like that. And then after that, you leave the country, you make a new visa, you come back into the country, you extend that visa a few times until they say you cannot extend the visa anymore. And so my thought in December of 2015 was I would be able to extend it again because I did that before with my previous visa that I got back in I think it was back in August of 2013. I went to Cambodia for the first time. I made a visa. This would be my second visa that I ever had, and I extended it like 5 times. It was a bunch of times. I think it was 5 times. It's like every 3 months. And then in March of 2015, I went to Cambodia for a second time to make a new visa, and then I was gonna extend it, and it turns out that I probably got the wrong kind of visa, and I felt like it was the fault of the travel agency, but they would probably say it was my fault for trying to get it. But my rebuttal would be they probably shouldn't have given me a business visa if I was not qualified to actually get one in the first place. But I had it, and perhaps that stopped me from extending my visa for a third time. But that would not necessarily be a limitation, or I didn't think it would be a limitation, but for some reason they just said that I couldn't extend it for a third time, which I've done before with other visas. And so I was surprised because that didn't happen before. And unless if things were changing, it would not have been a problem. But I wanted to try to get to the bottom of it, and I wanted people to confess to not telling me something that I should have known. I thought that somebody must have did something wrong. Somebody must have did a mistake. Either the travel agency for making me the wrong visa that I was not qualified for, or people trying to extend it. Perhaps they were making the mistake, and perhaps it was possible to extend the visa. I was doing a lot of back and forth, talking to different people about it, and a lot of people not knowing things and trying to figure things out, and people would try to help me out, and then I would have to wait 2 weeks. Usually it's like 2 weeks, and I wait, and then they say they can't help me or something, and then I go on to the next person, and I had different people help me, including Rom, and he's an Australian, and I don't know where he is right now, but he helped me out a lot, and Anna's and her family helped me out a lot, and we had a lot of adventures, and it was good. And we had a little bit of a fight, and then I was on my own around April of 2016, and so I was no longer staying at their house, and then I was staying at and coffee for a year or a pretty long period of time. For months and months, I was staying at the End Coffee at night, and during the day, I would run around tasting English and eating rice. I had 2 meals a day normally, and I had a routine down where I would just get up and go over to a place to eat some rice, rice and chicken, gumga. How do I say gumga ga? I'm trying to say this in Vietnamese, but I enjoyed eating the rice and chicken. That was normally what I would eat most of the time for breakfast and then again for dinner. And that was my usual routine, would be get up, eat a meal somewhere, and then go to another cafe. And then sometimes people would come and practice English with me. I had some classes at the cafe. And then I would get up and go somewhere to eat dinner, and then I would go to another place and another cafe for the night. And I would always order a drink, and the drinks were really, really good. I enjoyed having the drinks. Usually something like some kind of like a mocha or something with coffee and something really sweet like with like Oreo or something. I really enjoyed the kind of drinks that I would order. And I was staying at the End Coffee Cafe at night for months and months, and then there was some kind of fight or something, and they were not happy with me, and then I ended up finding a new place that I ended up staying at for the remaining time that I was in Vietnam, from like the end of 2016 or whatever it was, all the way through to November of 2017, when I ended up returning to America. But the name of that place, I don't remember. But I probably wrote it down somewhere. But it's not important. The name is not important right now. But I had a bunch of different classes, and even during those last 2 years in Vietnam, I had a bunch of different classes, and it was still a lot of fun, and I was still doing pretty good, even though I was homeless. In a way, I wasn't homeless in a way, because I was renting. You could say I was renting a little spot at the cafe, and that one cafe, that last cafe that I would stay at, was designed for that. And they would have the advertisement where they say, you can do that, stay overnight, and they intended that, and that's what some of the other some of the Vietnamese would do it. There were a few foreigners that I saw a few times, but it was challenging, and I really wanted to fix my problem and figure out what happened. And looking back, I think I know what happened. That the travel agency gave me the wrong kind of visa, and eventually I wasn't able to extend it anymore, because it wasn't not the right kind. But they didn't have the decency, or they didn't know how to tell me that, and they probably should have told me that they gave me the wrong visa, or somebody should have, and they didn't. And I felt like that was just a disservice, to be unable to communicate to foreigners when it's your job to communicate to foreigners. And then I was left with the bag. I was left with this problem, and nobody would really explain it. I had to figure it out after the fact. In retrospect, I was looking back, and I was able to piece it together, and eventually, I started piecing it together, and it took a lot of work. And I mean, I don't totally know. I can only guess and assume. So that's what I kind of do. Looking back, I try to figure out what went wrong, and I think that's what went wrong was just people making mistakes and or not stopping me from doing the wrong thing. And if they did sell me the wrong visa that I was not qualified for, it would be illegal, I would say. And I went to the immigration department one time, and they were like, "Oh, you got a problem. You got to leave this country." I was rushed through. I was just another number, and the lady saw me and talked to me really quickly. And then next, there was a bunch of other people at the immigration department, and I wanted to ask questions, and she just wanted me to leave, and I decided not to make a big deal about it, even though that's the kind of thing that I would do, yell at people and stuff, which I do sometimes, or I used to do. I mean, I guess I can still do it, but I decided not to make a big deal at that moment, even though I wanted to, and I decided just to leave. And she said a few things when I was at the immigration department. Her English was pretty good as a Vietnamese lady, older lady in her like 50s probably, and I wanted to know, what happened, what was going on, and she didn't really address it. And I even had a long letter that I had, and I was trying to give her the letter, and I wanted her to read it, and she didn't look at it, she didn't read it, and she was just very matter of fact, like just very quick, and like she was just like, you got a problem, you got to leave the country. And it was almost like she was saying, don't come back. I mean, I don't think she actually said that, but it was a big thing. My life in Vietnam was built around helping people, and I did a lot of that. But then it became a thing about this visa problem. That was the biggest problem that I had, the biggest drama, the biggest thing was that. And that's probably connected to the government and everything, and maybe not, but it was a big thing in my life, or at least in my life in Vietnam. So I guess I should have opened this video up with if you were, excuse me, I got a little bit of a stuffy nose. If you were making a documentary about me, you should talk about some of the problems I had in Vietnam, some of the problems, some of the highlights, some of the problems, and some of the highlights that I had in Vietnam. And I ended up finding a lady, a travel agent that was able to make me a visa extension, and that was probably around October of 2017. And eventually, after giving her around $500 or something, she was able to somehow get a stamp put into the passport, and the stamp is an extension. The visa is a little piece of paper that they stick into the passport, and an extension is a little stamp that they stamp into the passport on the following pages after the visa. And I paid around $500 or $600 on a visa that was like backdated or whatever. Whether it was legal or not, I was able to get it, and then I was able to buy a plane ticket, and then my legal student was taking me to the airport, and I was there, and I got to the airport, but it was late, so I missed my plane, and then I had to buy a new plane ticket. Well, the first plane ticket was bought by got the money from another student of mine that was one of my favorite students too, an architect, and he was a good student. And I had another student too who was it was at a coffee shop. He was the owner of the coffee shop or coffee company, Perio, and his name was here Henry. He was really good. I enjoyed him too, and so then I had to buy another plane ticket, and I used a little bit of some of my Bitcoin, and some of that came out of some of the money I made on Steemit, which became Hive. Not a lot of it. Most of it was money that I had that I turned into Bitcoin, and then Bitcoin probably doubled or not doubled, but just got a little bit bigger, and so then I had a little bit of money because I started. I bought a little bit of Bitcoin in probably in June of might have been May of 2017, and then I got some of that out, or actually spend it directly via a website, so I didn't have to go through a bank. I was able to spend the Bitcoin through a website that accepted Bitcoin, and I was able to buy a plane ticket, and my Lego student was he got me to the airport for a second time, and this time on time, and it was after seeing a movie. We saw one of those movies with the superheroes, with like Batman and Wonder Woman. One of those movies that came out in November 2017. What was the name? The Avengers, or forget what the name was, but you can imagine, you can look it up. But if we saw that movie, and he was one of my favorite students, and then he may have been the cause of me missing my first plane, and I was not happy with him about that, and he was able to get me back to the airport for a second time, and this time I got on my plane on time and was able to return to America, but I was held up for a while in immigration in California for like an hour or two. It felt like a really long time. It may have been, I don't know how many minutes, but it felt like many hours. It may have been less than an hour, but a lady at the immigration in America, at the airport, was going through all my bags and everything. Maybe she was looking for drug money or something, or on drugs, or I don't know, but she was just like going through every single thing that I had. And then I was back to America. This will be the end of this video for now. This was supposed to be a rough outline, but I didn't really talk about everything. I didn't talk about a lot of things. There's so many things to talk about, but this will be the video for now. I don't know what the presentation quality of this video is, or what the value of this video might be. I don't know if people should watch this video or not, but I'm gonna upload this video anyways, regardless of how good or bad it might be. I know that this video might be stupid or good. I don't know, but I'm gonna upload this for the record, and for me, and for anybody who wants to see it. I'm just gonna upload it. I said a few things that I thought was good, but I still think I'm doing a pretty bad job at explaining myself. I wanted to say many things, and I did say a few things that are worth noting about my life in Vietnam from 2012 to 2017. I think it's informative is the word, and I think it's pretty good. I think it was good being a freelance English teacher. I think that was good. I enjoyed it. It was challenging, but good for a lot of reasons. I think there are some videos worth looking at that shows some of the classes and students that I had in Vietnam. Sometimes I would talk a little slower, and I got a habit. I developed a habit. I got in the habit of talking slower so that they would understand me. And sometimes I want to do that regardless of who I am talking to. And I like to do it sometimes, and I think it's good sometimes, and I think it's cool sometimes to talk a little slower. I like to talk generically, and I like to talk specifically, and I get lost in the maze that lies between the two extremes, and I think it's pretty cool. I said I was giving an outline, but it's not much of an outline. My outline of Vietnam is pretty vague, and I should probably give you a slideshow. I should probably make better videos in the future that can do a better job, especially if you needed material or information about my life in Vietnam. That is, if you were doing a documentary about me or something, depending on who is watching this video. I think this video was informative to an extent. I roughly mentioned a few things that you can look into that can be interesting or too trivial. And that's always the debate in life. Is it too trivial? Is it too boring? Is it too not important? And what is important in life? And does it matter? I don't know. But it's worth talking about sometimes. And I went through a lot of struggle and a lot of fun, exciting times. No pain, no gain, as they say. No pain, no gain.